This video contains up-to-date spoilers for the My Hero Academia manga. You have been warned. What is up, everybody? It's Sanyara here, and today we are going to be talking about a very highly debated and controversial topic in the My Hero community. No, this isn't about the angry flame boy or a possible Star Wars homage, but rather a discussion on a pressing issue within the current My Hero universe. In My Hero Academia, throughout our entire story, someone has not been honest. When villains managed to take down communications at USJ, and when the Vanguard Action Squad managed to get the location of the students at the training camp, both situations were extremely fishy. At USJ, we were told that there might be a villain similar with the quirk to Kaminari's that was able to shut down communications, but we are never shown this villain nor their defeat. If there truly was a villain taking down communications, I'm sure Horikoshi would at least put at one panel of it. Later on, during the summer training camp, the teachers ended up changing the location of the original spot because of the threat of another potential villain invasion. However, this effort turned out to be useless, as yet again the League of Villains was able to determine their location and invade. This time, it's suspected that the location had been leaked by one of the students or teachers, via cell phone or other methods. While that leaves so many options to consider, I think I've narrowed it down to one particular person who almost managed to slip by unnoticed. Although, I'm sure that's what they would have wanted. I'll give you a few seconds to try and guess who it could be. Done? Alright, you guessed it. It's Invisible Girl! Yeah, you probably weren't expecting that. Now, what can make me come to the conclusion that this no-name, almost irrelevant side character could be such an important character in My Hero? Well, to understand how Toru Hagakure, otherwise known as Invisible Girl, could be the UA traitor, let's first take a look at some clues that Horikoshi has left throughout the story. The first event I want to talk about is the class president election in Chapter 12. We are shown a panel of the voting of the class, and when you total up all the votes, you only come out to a total of 19. There are 20 students in Class 1A, which means that one student abstained from voting. Why? Deku's 3 votes are himself, Ira, and Ochako, while Momo's are from herself and Todoroki. We know Todoroki voted for Momo because he later states it during the final practical exam, and we are left to assume that the rest of the class voted for themselves. Why would a student not participate in the class election? I would also like to mention that Toru is not seen throughout the entire chapter, and that same chapter is also the chapter where Shigaraki and Kurogiri sneak into UA. Horikoshi intentionally leaving a student out of the election, not shown in the chapter, and a villain attack at the end of the chapter? Interesting. Let's continue on. The next suspicious event that we can look at is the attack on USJ. Shigaraki, Kurogiri, and a buffed up Nomu walk into a bar. However, Toru is not seen. During the USJ attack, Toru is not shown fighting villains once. At the beginning of the attack, Kurogiri sends out a warp wave that sends the students throughout various locations throughout USJ. It is very important that I mention the students went to different locations based on where they were standing prior to being warped. We see Tsuyu, Minada, and Deku all together in the bottom right of the panel, and later on we see them again fighting together on the ship. Kaminari, Momo, and Jiro are together on the right side of the panel, and later on we see them taking on another electric-type villain. Toru is positioned in the top left of this panel, in between Sato and Shoji. Let's take a look at the mini-map provided in Chapter 16. A quick note that I would like to add is that it seems that Horikoshi forgot to add Shoji to this minimap, but it's okay. We see that Shoji and Sato both were not warped to separate areas, but they stayed in the same location. On the minimap, we also see that the location of 2 students are unknown, Aoyama and Toru. Later on, Aoyama says where he was a secret. Suspicious, but Aoyama's Aoyama. But where was Toru? She was in between Sato and Shoji, but completely vanished during a villain attack? I don't believe it. We know Aoyama cannot be the traitor, because later on, during the cultural festival arc, him and Deku become friends. But what about Toru? Toru later on states that she was with Todoroki in the landslide zone, but if we go back to it, a villain states that the second that Todoroki was warped, he instantly froze the entire ground around him. Later on, she even makes a comment about how Ojiro fought bravely in the configuration zone, but if we take a look at it, those 2 zones are practically on opposite sides in the minimap. How could she have known where Ojiro was in fighting if she was alongside Todoroki? Todoroki even makes a comment about how he could have frozen her. I don't believe Horikoshi made this comment just for comedy. It's an actual problem. How did Toru avoid his ice attack and also keep track of the other students? Someone's not being honest. Why would she lie about her location? While this isn't exactly a villain attack, before I talk about the training camp, I would also like to mention another important event that happened later on in the story. In chapter 68, Toru suggests to the class that they should all go shopping at the mall prior to the training camp for supplies. At the mall, Deku happens to run into the leader and face of the League of Villains, Shigaraki Tomura. While this encounter was 100% by chance, I find it extremely interesting that the one who suggested going to the mall in the first place was Invisible Girl. It's as if Horikoshi intentionally made her to be the one to suggest the place where Deku would have his first one-on-one personal meeting with the future Lord of Evil. I find it extremely interesting that this is rarely brought up in most Traitor theories for My Hero, but it seems more of a subtle clue left in the story to look back on in hindsight. Now let's talk about the summer training camp. One night, while playing a horror game as a test of courage, the students get invaded yet again, this time by the Vanguard Action Squad, led by Dabi. Let's again take a look at Toru's location during the invasion. Unfortunately, her and Jiro were both knocked out by Mustard's quirk, or rather, fortunately for her. Allowing herself to get knocked out by Mustard's gas left her a foolproof alibi for the invasion, and a proper excuse for why she wasn't able to help defend against the villains. Why would she alert the villains and then proceed to get injured by them, you ask? Because this allowed her to clear any suspicion from her name as well. I would also like to mention in this arc, Aoyama was seen by Dabi, and Dabi goes to approach him, but then gives up. But that was most likely because Dabi did not want to pointlessly murder a student. Toru's knocked out for a few days as a result of the gas, and that also explains why the League of Villains did not know about Kirishima's plan to rescue Bakugo. If it was any other student in the class as a traitor, I'm not sure what the reasoning would be for not notifying them. Another important fact to know about this traitor theory happens later in the cultural festival, when Aoyama and Deku become friends. Aoyama leaves pieces of cheese outside Deku's window at night with the words, "I know." Later on, he also spells out a special saying in French, "Still waters run deep," which basically means that a calm or quiet nature can hide a much more passionate one. When asked about what "I know" means, Aoyama responds with how Deku's quirk, One for All, is ill-suited for his body. He then goes on to relate about his quirk doesn't suit him, and they have a cute little conversation about it. However, immediately after their conversation, Aoyama puts on an extremely serious face, and this is highlighted in the panel. Hori uses this later as a gag, but there's something more to this scene. I would like to remind you all that during the USJ attack, there were 2 students missing, Toru and Aoyama. Aoyama, when questioned, refuses to reveal where he was, and I believe that's because he witnessed an Invisible Girl taking down the communications at USJ. Following USJ, Aoyama is always seen with Toru during internships, and the two even end up coming up with a team move. I believe Aoyama, since USJ, has been making it a point to keep a close eye on Toru. Due to the nature of their quirks, a naval laser and light refraction, if Aoyama were to confront Toru, he could very easily be defeated by her. In addition, Aoyama may not know why Toru would betray everyone, and most likely has taken a personal responsibility to try and stop her. If you think about it, there have been no more villain invasions ever since the training camp either, when Toru intentionally got herself injured to throw off suspicion. She's most likely been laying low since, I think we're at the arc in My Hero Academia where she will reveal herself for who she truly is. Now you might be wondering, what are the other options for traitors at this point? 2 popular characters for the traitor theory in My Hero in the past were Present Mic and Kaminari. However, at the beginning of the current arc in the manga, Horikoshi goes out of his way to deconfirm Kaminari and prove that he's a true hero. Present Mic is also the one who destroyed Shigaraki's tank, and I think that deconfirms any theories about him being aligned with the League of Villains for Shirakumo. Something I'd like to talk about real quick is the narrative theme of having a traitor in the class in the first place. Aizawa has always been a teacher who has been extremely focused on raising his students properly. We're told at the beginning of the story that he even expelled an entire class before. To have a traitor in his own class, under his own eyes, would cause massive potential for character development and story progression. I think it's interesting as well that Aizawa activates his quirk through his eyes, and Invisible Girl's quirk has to deal with light refraction. Currently in the manga, Aizawa is facing Shigaraki, and I just can't seem to shake the thought of Invisible Girl using her light refraction to blind Aizawa to cancel his quirk and potentially injure him, or even worse. Things are heating up right now in the My Hero universe, and only time will tell. Invisible Girl is currently with the Force Raid team, alongside Jiro and a few others, and a reveal there, with her blinding the entire class or escaping, would be amazing. I'm sure Horikoshi is saving the moment for just the right time. Thank you all for watching my video! I know this week I was supposed to release a video essay on Vinland Saga, but things are just too spicy right now in the My Hero manga. I just want to do a quick reminder that there is a giveaway currently being hosted on my channel under my recent Tower of God reaction that ends tomorrow. Anyways, I appreciate the support. Make sure to follow me on Twitter as well for manga colorings, updates, and more. Sanyadara, shine on!